Do you find it interesting at all that despite HBO boxing being off the air for half a decade now, that all the best fighters in the sport are still HBO fighters? From Terence Crawford, even Inoue fought on Superfly, Tyson Fury, Usyk appeared on HBO, Dimitri Bivol and Canelo Alvarez as well. Is that take any solace in that, or is that interesting at all to you, Jim?
Starting with Seth Abraham running the sports division, continuing through Lou DiBella and Ross Greenberg running the sports division. The people who managed HBO Sports, they weren't there because of baseball or football or basketball. They were there because of the network's devotion to boxing. And that has to do with the difference between premium pay cable and over-the-air commercial television. Over-the-air commercial television was built to distribute sports like football, baseball, and basketball, which thrive on abundance and regularity. Boxing thrives on scarcity and irregularity. The boxing audience responds to something they weren't sure they were going to see. I know when the Yankees are going to play the Red Sox. I know when the Rams are going to play the Raiders. I don't know when Terence Crawford and Errol Spence are going to fight each other, and that requires management and timing and expertise in mounting the platform of the fight. HBO, among all television organizations, had the best lineage of executives who understood that. And that, I think, is the basis for what you're now saying, that our fighters, my fighters, still have big influence over the sport.
And speaking, you did again. You covered Inoue as well as Crawford. Who do you think is the best guy, pound for pound, right now? Between it seems like it's a two-man
Oh
race.
well, I would have put Crawford on top of the pound for pound rankings before the other night. Okay, I think that he had already proven enough in his career to have that ranking, and which is not to say that there aren't a lot of other good fighters. You can't ignore Fury. The influence of the heavyweight champion is extraordinary, and Fury survives the first Wilder fight and then knocks him for a loop in the second Wilder fight. And like I said, Emmanuel said unbeaten, unbeatable. There he is. So there's a rich nucleus of top-notch fighters in the sport right now. But I think that Crawford has fought regularly, has stayed on schedule, has beaten the people who come at him. He's got to be number one. Inoue, number two. Fury, number three. That's the way I would see it.
Everyone seems to think Fury's ducking Alexander Usyk. Jim, what are your thoughts on that?
I think he's ducking Usyk, at least for the time being. And then eventually the money will pile up to such an extent that it can't be avoided anymore. But if there's anybody in the world he should duck in terms of style, it's definitely Usyk. And what is Usyk? He's a quick counterpuncher. He's a quicker counterpuncher than Fury, necessarily because of size. Question is, if Fury catches him with the kind of counter shot with which he caught Wilder, can Usyk take that? We don't know.
Is that not a case though of a great big man beats a great smaller man, or not necessarily?
Um, yes, and not necessarily. Those are my two answers to that question. Yes, it is a case of that, and not necessarily. Both are valid.
They got to get in the ring for us to actually find out. That's how this works, right?
Well, I want to see it. I want to see Fury fight Usyk. I want to see Inoue against the best in his division. I want to see who wants Crawford at this point. There are a lot of things to want to see in boxing.
I remember Mayweather McGregor, mentioning Barnum Daily, and there's a PT Barnum, and there's a sucker born every day. And do you feel the same way about Fury and Francis Ngannou? Same type of sentiment?
Yes. Yes. Simple answer. Yes. They're fighting with boxing rules, right?
Yes.
And end of subject. And MMA fighters, somewhere along the line, somebody's going to prove me wrong. But, I said to you about Conor McGregor. MMA fighters are not built by their experience and their background to fight with boxing rules. Boxing rules are different. And I mean, even the mat itself on which you fight is different. Floyd knew that if he allowed McGregor to throw most of the punches in the early rounds, he would give away his legs. And eventually that's what happened. And, you know, I mean, don't match wits with Floyd Mayweather. He's absolutely brilliant. And as the other night showed, don't match wits with Terence Crawford either.
And
I mean, who do you think? I love Bomac and Diegas. I love his two trainers. Who do you think makes decisions in that corner? Do you think they tell him what to do? I love them both, but come on. You know, this is a guy who is very, very visibly his own boss, like Floyd.
he absolutely reminded me of Floyd in that way, because I was questioning. I'm like, Derek James has more of that traditional role, you know, trainer, fighter, listen to trainer, do what the trainer says, and typically that would be the better, you know, dynamic between fighter and trainer than the fighter doing what he wants. But he did remind me of Floyd Mayweather in that sense. This is the guy that can get away with that because of his IQ. But
well, yeah. And you know, it's a who's the boss question, and it isn't just what he's done in the ring; it's what he's done with his life. He has established who the boss is. I mean, you know, the traditional paradigm would be Emmanuel Stewart and Tommy Hearns. Does Tommy have to listen to what Emmanuel says? He damn well better. He's not equally qualified to make decisions. Does Ray Leonard listen to Angelo Dundee? He should. Yeah. Look at what Dundee did with Muhammad Ali. But at the end of the day, there are some fighters who are very definably their own boss, and Crawford is one of those.